When people think of quintessential Need for Speed, the easiest go-to answers for most are either Need for Speed Underground or Need for Speed Most Wanted. In the case of movies, video games, or other mediums, the sequel very rarely outshines the original. But in Need for Speed Underground's case, it's the de facto, absolute, memorable, complete quintessential, the most racing game to ever have racers racing racers as they raced with racists. Hold up, that's not what that word means. For the purest review possible, no mods or no cheats will be used. What you see in this review is the game's vanilla graphics, the AI's default difficulty, and the progression described exactly how the developers originally intended it, that I totally will not cheese later on in the game, using, of course, totally vanilla mechanics, but we'll get there when we get there. Story and art. I'll keep this part very brief as it's a racing game. While the story's a direct sequel from Need for Speed Underground, the original, it isn't structured in a way where it calls upon / references the original game frequently enough to actually warrant needing to play it. The most charming note I'd like to add is that the story is told via comic strips, and honestly, that's stylish as heck. It sticks with you and it makes this game feel like a standout piece of art. Not a relic of its time in a bad way, but a relic of its time in a good way. It's not filled with cliches, there's no cheesy cutscenes that just drag on. This is simple, well thought out, and well displayed. Quickly told, and honestly, these comic strips, they don't feel that old. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, the easiest thing I can say is if you've been skipping out on Need for Speed Underground 2 because you thought you needed to play Need for Speed Underground Original, no worries, that's not a concern here. You can actually just start with 2. The map. Need for Speed Underground 2 is the first open world Need for Speed game, or heck, even just in general, was also one of the first open world games with such a scale especially. In a day and age where open world games are getting more and more saturated in the market and it's seen as an overdone expectation as opposed to a groundbreaking feature, it was incredibly paramount that I revisited Need for Speed Underground 2, now having been exposed to the countless open world games and actually seeing if it holds up or not, and well, I'm proud to say, great. It holds up more than great, in fact. It's fantastic, more than fantastic. It's downright drop-dead gorgeous. The city is filled with so much life. The moment you boot it up, take Rachel's ride, you're accompanied with other racers chatting to you, welcoming you to the city, taunting you, and you can even see their cars as they roam around on the streets. Out there, with you, in a 2004 game. Why is this missing from literally any other modern Need for Speed game? Why can't I drive around Unbound and just see all of the racers roaming about the streets and just actually populating the city? Like seriously, what the f? This is so cool. It instantly makes the city feel more alive. Combined with the narrow streets and the shining lights, to actually see others going for a drive. With each stage you progress through, more and more of the city becomes available to you. From the moment you land, the moment you enter, you immediately head to city center, onwards and out to Beacon Hill, surrounded by bright lights as you make your way to Jackson Heights. Mansion after mansion, these estates must cost a fortune, but it's all worth the drive when you turn around and find Bayview's beautiful, beautiful city skyline. It's insane a game can be this gorgeous, even in its vanilla form, no mods, no cheats. This is a window into 2004 you're gazing through right now, and wow, an absolute technological marvel that they accomplished this way back then. It fills you with wonder, makes you drive every alley, crest over every hill. You always want to see what's next, where the road goes. This is how a racing game's map should be. Something that excites, something that teases. The lack of fast travel combined with the world's most inefficient dog turd GPS, because yeah, this was before GPSs were kind of mainstream, so it kind of makes sense how if they're not working in real life, they're definitely not working in a game. But the point is, the lack of really good guidance systems actually comes to benefit this game. It makes it where you, the player, have to drive from event to event, relying solely on your knowledge of the map. At first, it feels like an endless sprawl, surrounded by buildings so tall. How can I ever hope to remember it all? Yet as you play, continuing to find your way, every single jump, alley, house, or valley, you begin to remember which street leads into another, which exits lead into each other. The signs all have meaning in this game, and for someone who grew up using street signs in real life and still occasionally looks up at them out of distrust of my GPS system, this made me feel really rewarded to see just how good reading signs still could be. The shops, cosmetic, performance paint, or otherwise aren't marked on your map from the start. You have to find them, and I mean actually find them. Look for colored lights, take a trip down a dark alley, Valley. Honestly, if these shops existed IRL, you'd think they wouldn't get any business for how hard they are to find, yet when it comes to Mind, I realize that yes indeed, most real-life paint, body performance, and otherwise are all found deep behind several lines, tucked away on industrial streets, crammed within buildings between. Honestly, if it weren't for Google, I actually don't know how any of these modern shops would be found these days, except just kidding, I do. It's because people back then actually read, not just street signs but literal magazines, with cool pictures in them of course. I mean, come on, we're not barbarians here. I'm not trying to make you read some pictureless The Catcher in the Rye like your English teacher would. These magazines serve as a key focal point for these shops to get their name out and also to serve as kind of the main progression factor in this game. And yeah, okay, this part does kind of date the game sort of. I mean, come on, we all know these cars ain't pulling any maidens. It's just gonna get you a whole bunch of Minecraft age squeakers shouting at you to two-step or something. At any point, if you do get sick of driving around the city, you could actually just warp back to garage, quickly swap cars, and pick a new ride, and guess what? When you leave the garage, it actually warps you right back to where you left off. It's the perfect kind of system in my opinion, because I actually would not have minded if you could teleport to the garage, but then it warped you out of the garage from where it used to be. But the added convenience of putting it back to where you were was just enough convenience where this doesn't feel like an authentic fast travel system that's breaking the game, while also not feeling like the game made it tedious on you for you to not want to change rides every now and then. Especially if you have certain rides set up for certain events, you can easily use this feature to always use your drift car for the drift event, use your street cross car for the street cross event, and your race car for any race event. And this is a huge reason why I can't give the best Need for Speed reward to Most Wanted 05. You just fast travel, fast travel, fast travel. I don't even have rhymes from this point on for this particular thing because I'm just that genuinely speechless and thrown off my groove just thinking about how Need for Speed Most Wanted thinks so little of its player and its ability to navigate through the city. But I mean, you know, that's too long. That's gonna be a topic for another time. Let's go ahead and see what we can take for a drive. Cars and handling. With a total of 39 cars, some swapped or missing depending on region, Need for Speed Underground 2 isn't boasting an impressively large roster, even for its time. However, keep in mind, it makes up for this through its grind. Each car you buy stays with you for a long time. This isn't, haha, boot up game and get showered with 10 Porsches, 2 Ferraris, 1 Lamborghini, and then do 10 races and unlock a Bugatti. This game actually makes you work for each car, develop each car, grow attached to each car, and even make you regret selling each car, as you can only have a mere 5 of them at a time. And when you give a car away, not a single model in it stays. That's just money in the hole, something you actually have to think about, and I genuinely mean think about, as you can play yourself into a soft lock if you aren't careful about this, and I'll talk about that more in the progression section. As for handling, despite being a massive stan of Midnight Club 3, I'm gonna be real with you. Need for Speed Underground 2 blows MC3 out of the water in terms of its overall handling model. MC3 really shines in early game and really comes into its own being in mid game. However, the game still keeps going after Class B, and well, the developers definitely pushed the limit further than their physics engine was capable of, because of how small the roads were and how hectic and chaotic the cities were. It's a miracle that most cars, even Class C Supras when upgraded, could go in excess of 250 miles per hour. To put that into perspective, even the most recent Need for Speed Unbound has a Bugatti Chiron and Koenigsegg Regera limited to a measly 245 miles an hour. Midnight Club 3 in Endgame has the remainder of its cast selectable vehicles kinda driving really wonky and strange, and it's only really compensated by the fact that they have power-ups in that game. MC3 suffers greatly from plastic featherweight Beyblade syndrome, as the faster and faster the cars go, the more they kind of just feel like Tony Hawk going off a half pipe doing a whole bunch of Indy 900s. If you want to hear me talk more about Midnight Club 3, I have made a video about it, and I also will not stop comparing these two games because they were made around the same time and have generally the same design principle and execution about what they want to represent. Having said that though, back to Need for Speed 2. It doesn't nearly have any of that wonky endgame feeling. Beginning to end, the cars just have the right amount of weight. The jumps both on takeoff and landing have the satisfying bounce and smack. The cars can spin, drift, but don't do so unnecessarily. Transitioning up and down curbs, taking shortcuts, going off-road, the traction difference does exist, but not to such an extreme where I feel like my car is just unfairly yeeting itself into oblivion because it stubbed its toe on a curb. The faster and faster you go, the more thrilling each vehicle feels. The sense of speed in this game is unprecedented, something that would actually be improved upon in its successor, Need for Speed Most Wanted, which, by the way, if you want to see my review on that, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, please. I'd appreciate it so much. I do love making these review videos, and honestly, I'm just addicted to nostalgia at this point. Like, I'm actually genuinely happy that I can make videos where I'm positive and they actually get good views. Like, thank y'all so much for subscribing, and thank you even more for watching these videos. Seriously, y'all the real ones. I waited 6 years on this YouTube channel to somehow pivot to a happier, also gaming focus, and we're finally just now doing it. We're actually doing it. So, yeah, so subscribe. Anyways, the cars feel great early on, and they don't feel frustrating or boring to maneuver either. This is actually an insanely huge compliment. Like, I don't even think you guys realize how big of an achievement this is. When you blast through Bayview going 90 miles an hour in a stock Civic, you feel like hot shit. Even though you're just a stock-ass troublemaker trying to make a name for themselves in streets you don't even know in a city that's all about show. Corner after corner, light after light, blasting through each intersection under the cover of night. I boot up Gran Turismo 2 and pick a Civic, you bout to catch me half asleep in under a minute. In most of these racing games, I slog through the start in hopes of it getting better in the middle so I can look forward to the cars at the end. The cover art, the shining stars, the trophy cars, the downright bizarre. That's what sells you the game long before you even had a start. The internet wasn't a thing back then. I picked up Gran Turismo 2 as a kid, and that box art, flipped it around, that's all I had. Saw me a Dodge Viper GTSR, and that's why I told my dad to buy me that game. Not because I wanted to start in the Civic, not because I even knew I would start in the Civic, but because I wanted to push a Viper to its limit. The dream of the end is what keeps me playing. That's the only reason I'm staying. But with Need for Speed Underground 2, from start to end, city center to Cole Harbor, from the moment you enter to the moment you're farther, car enthusiasts like you and me were able to put up with simulation racers or psycho shenanigans in MC3, but the average casual gamer, they just want to pick up and go, something easy to play with but hard to master. The finesse, the elegance, some street discipline, but also some drift shenanigan. The handling in the Underground series is the reason non-car people ever even bothered to buy a racing game and ever even bothered to still buy racing games. This is what they hope for, this is what they expect, this is what they still remember. Something that still isn't even captured by so many modern arcade racers. Something so satisfyingly easy to drive with, but still surprisingly deep to master for those of us willing to go deeper. And the deeper you go into NFSU2, the deeper it too goes into you. Whether you're sliding through town at 60 miles an hour, blitzing down the highway at 180, it's a sight to behold, a feeling to be told. It genuinely hooks you from the start. Absolute SS tier. Very few games can have this kind of handling model, this kind of charm. Everything you've ever imagined about how an arcade racer handled or should handle has already been settled here in Underground 2. And all that praise and shower comes the question of the hour. How does this game actually play, and how does it actually even progress? Well, on the brighter side for sure, it's not bad. Heck, it's not even good. It's absolutely great, but not perfect. In fact, progression into this game is honestly the most unique strength, but also a poorly aged weakness. And yes, I'm going to say it, I did play vanilla, no mods, no cheats, I did it all, no deceit, but also not very discreet, because look at these ugly MFs, like, god dang. You wanna get mad at me for what I've done to my cars before you even think about commenting? Guess what? This is how you progress the game. You gotta chase them stars. I mean no ill will, so please listen to this entry until the end. Before you think I'm aiming to offend, I'm gonna say it. A lot of you guys played this game wrong and probably are also subsequently remembering it incorrectly. Again, listen to this entry all the way until the end. It'll shock you. I'm not trying to be mean or act like a smart aleck, but I'm one of the many who progressed through this game also incorrectly my first time playing it way back then. So let me confess, this game's absolute gaping mess. There's actually a way to get around this mess I'm about to show you, but for humor's sake, I'm just gonna play the game in huge air quotes, as the devs intended you to play it, because again, that's how most of us chose to play it long before we even knew we could break it. Okay, so just watch this part in its entirety, alright? I don't want to see one of y'all down there going, well, actually, you can do this, Blade. I know I can do this. You know, past me didn't know, but present me knows this now, alright? Just let me get on with this. So even if you like the mid-2000s mid-2000s aesthetic, which by the way I have no problem with. My actual problem is that you can't pick a bumper or wing or even vinyls based on its looks or how much you like it. You pick it based on whatever has the highest rating star. This results in you oftentimes stomaching very questionable decisions and modification combinations as you add less than desirable parts to your otherwise unmolested car. Unfortunately, this game is merciless about it too. It expects you to race your car beyond belief. You can't skip out here and there. You have to literally put everything that's unlocked available to you onto your car. Again, not in a charming, lovable mid-2000s way, but an absolute disgrace. From speaker systems to colored window tints, removing pop-up headlights, adding scissor doors, cringe, who do that? Totally not me. And even hydraulics are in this game. Yet in spite of all of that, my RX-7 she still ain't even 6 stars. And to progress the game, you gotta go from 0 to hero, 1 to 3, then 6 and 10. But even then, I got all I need on this RX-7, so please, oh god, please, why, oh why do I have to still add more if everything I have on it is already on it? I'm sorry, my dear sweet child, my lovable rotary Dorito legend, we have to do this. We have to put them on you. We need to increase your star rating to progress. It's the only way. I put spinners on the RX-7. This is what you have to do to progress. This isn't a choice. There's no freedom in this matter. Sure, you can call it customization, but when you're forced to do it, you know, maybe not using the no mod was a mistake after all. But if we're deep diving full nostalgia OG gaming, we have to play it as intended. This was how the game intended you to progress. Just look at how they massacred my boy. Offset roof scoops, these are worth more stars than a center one. I don't even like center ones, much less an offset one. Like, what is this even leading to? My trunk? Gotta cool down my trunk, my groceries on my way back? Oh, never mind. You see these speaker systems? That's what I'm cooling down. This probably generates so much heat, and heck, I'm more worried about all the weight this is adding to the car. I mean, you tell me to put my car on a diet, Rachel, but I can't do this. You make me put stuff like this back on even though I'm deleting my rear seats. Where's the trade-off with this, Rachel? Tell me, Rachel. Where's Rachel? Sorry, wrong reference, entirely different reference in fact. Anyways, it gets worse still. Like, look at this. This is the worst use of Kabamfaba I've ever seen. This wing, bro, what are these graphics? Oh no, why is this American flag worth more than like half the graphics available? I'm putting this on an RX-7, bro. Oh, by the way, yeah, I guess I should mention that. Different stickers and vinyls have different ratings than others. The more you have, the higher the rating. So if you're wondering why my RX-7 just has the word Epexy spammed all over it, stars is why. I didn't want to do that. I didn't have the creativity left in me to actually take the time and try to find the best vinyls that look good together. Like, no, I'm just gonna spam Apexy, man. If it gives me the most stars, I'm just gonna spam that one. Like, just look at my starter car, Thanos Civic. Then look at this Celica. Looks like a Lamborghini Gallardo replica. Then my Supra. Okay, at least this one has the dignity to not be made by me. This was made by Stream Chat, who decided to call it Shrek. It's puke green, full of layers of rice, and definitely not looking too nice. Shameless plug again, by the way. If you want to be part of my streams, then make sure to hit that notification bell to tune into future streams, because you know I'm going to be playing Most Wanted 05, and if you want to torture me with another riced out monstrosity, then be there. Be there and I'll put it again. I'll put it in your hands to do whatever with that car. I regret whatever car I'm going to choose to buy in that game. And again, you know, if you about to comment that I'm being elitist, that you like the looks of these mods, and that I'm just being a hater, I'ma say it again for those in the back who are too slow to catch on to what I just said. This whole entry, what I'm trying to explain is that I ain't hating. You like doors, spinners, or stereos, it's all good, you be you. My problem isn't that the game has those items, my problem is that it forces you to use them. All of them at once. In fact, you don't have a choice to pick the customization. There ain't no free reign to the players. You literally have to pick meta cosmetic mods. There's an actual meta to the cosmetic mods in this game. That's the street cred, the reputation, earning the star rating, getting the sponsorships, those stupid magazine photos. Like, let me repeat that again for the people who still don't understand. You do not get to choose the mods you want to put in your car. And if you do play like that way, well, that will we're gonna talk about it here. So in order to reach endgame, not even 100% by the way, just even halfway through the game is where you get access to West Cold Harbor usually. Just to unlock the final stage of the game, or heck even stage 4 or stage 3, you must put on everything available to you in the previous stage that was unlocked to you. The game's star rating system is brutal and its requirements are steep. So steep in fact that this is the part that I meant to dress when I first said this entry. A lot of you guys, many of you guys, including myself who played this back in the day, we had dead saves. You probably are watching this entry thinking, Bladen, when I played this back in the game, I booted up, bought my dream car, put whatever mods I liked, beat everything, no more races spawned, game was done, you know, I was good. Nah, you wrong. I know I was wrong especially, you know? So, I'm gonna talk about the dead saves. This was usually due to two reasons. The first one being that they didn't cosmetically mod their car enough and that new races no longer show up. No races means no rep. No rep means no sponsors. No sponsors means no main story, which means no future car unlocks. Many, and I mean many people have false/altered/rose-tinted memories of this game due to never actually beating it, but deluding themselves into thinking they beat it because they saw that races weren't spawning. So they said, oh, all the races are gone, I guess I beat the game. But if you are someone who actually did check your in-game statistics and constantly looked it up to see what percentage of the game you're through, which I don't blame people for not doing this, by the way. In Gran Turismo 2, I didn't check this when I was a kid, but I did beat the final quote-unquote race in Gran Turismo 2 because 100%ing a game doesn't necessarily equate to beating it. Most games can usually be beaten around the halfway or a little over the halfway percentage mark. Everything else, just collectibles. But a surprising amount of people, the most infamous number that's constantly mentioned on the forums, is a meme about the 40 to 45% in specific. If you played this game and never actually checked your progress, you'd think the game was over less than halfway through, because you're still probably 20 hours of playtime at that point. And if you're really not that good at racing, you might even be double that if you're losing your races, which childhood me was definitely doing, and some of you probably were doing too. Most players, and most of us growing up as kids, never actually reached stage 4 or even 5, because we never got a 6-star rated car, because we were probably modding the cars based on what we wanted them to look like. And Rachel does a very poor job of telling you that this is how you progress the game. She only ever tells you, I think, 2 times in the whole game that you have to get your star rating up. And it's conversations that you can very easily not have listened to, and she never repeats it either. So you can genuinely never know what you're supposed to do to progress the game. Midnight Club 3 has a way of combating this where Oscar will eventually hound you over and over. He'll literally break the 4th wall and just start saying, you have to beat the rival racers to progress the game. He'll literally just outright refer to you as a player in the game and mark on the map what you're supposed to do. Need for Speed Underground 2 does give you the freedom by not forcing you. And to be fair, MC3 isn't necessarily holding your hand either, because you can just ignore Oscar and still do tournament races or other shenanigans, but at least he constantly lets you know what you're supposed to do. You could genuinely not know what to do in NFSU2. So most kids, myself included, I actually just reached the end of stage 3, saw that no races spawned anymore, then said, wow, great game, I beat it, yeah, nice. And I never even remembered putting on spinners or stair systems or scissor doors for the sake of unlocking the end game and actually beating Caleb. The only thing that childhood me did kind of know something was wrong is that I saw the AI drive the Mustang, and I was like, why have I not unlocked the Mustang yet? Because that's a stage 4 car, by the way. So I was stuck at the end of stage 3, never had a race that unlocked a show it to me. I just assumed because it was a 2004 game and it was a 2005 Mustang, it must have been one of the AI kind of, I guess, concept cars that only they had access to, because believe it or not, this was made during a time where a decent amount of games would give AI the ability to have something you didn't. The second reason people didn't make it to stage 4 and got stuck at the infamous 40 is because they probably kept changing cars. The game has a limited amount of races, as I just discussed. If you're just not even going for star ratings and you're just modding cars for fun and constantly modding those cars, both performance and cosmetic, just willy-nilly until you accidentally run out of races, and now you have 4 cars, neither of which have the correct star rating to unlock the next stage, thus making it where no more races spawn, thus making it where you can't get money anymore, thus making it where you got soft locked, you have a dead save. Yeah, that's all she wrote, you know? The way you're supposed to play this game is you're supposed to pick a car you like and commit to it. People are used to being showered with Ferraris, tens of them, you know, hundreds of supercars in Forza Horizon these days. It's hard to tell someone to go back to this game and tell them, yo, no, you only have 5 car slots and you should really only be getting 1 car each stage. If you try to get multiple cars in a stage, you can literally play yourself into a soft lock. This can be resolved by making multiple multiple save files. That way you can go back to one of your previous saves and do the right thing, which is to finish off one of your previous cars instead. So if you have one of your cars that's like 5-star rating, has all stage 2 parts, and you did the foolish decision of trading it in for a bone stock car, even though there's no more races remaining, you're now stuck with a bone stock car that can't even beat the outrun racers, which is what we're about to talk about. Because oh boy, there is actually a way to play yourself out of the soft lock, and there is a certain race type that does spawn infinitely, but we're gonna have to talk about difficulty. It's very tedious, but it is doable. You can do outrun races. These are infinitely spawning. They barely give you any bank, by the way, and they're super hard to win because of insane rubber banding. But because they can reward your car with unique, rare cosmetic parts, it can actually level your car up out of the soft lock that you got yourselves into. And if you get enough wins, you can get enough money into making the next star rating. Even on medium, heck, even on easy, these MFs be cheating. These are some of the hardest races in the game, and they feature the most blatant, unapologetic, very noticeable rubber banding. I was streaming this, and I think one of my outrun races dang near lasted 15 minutes. I was 900 feet away from him 2 times, at the cusp of taking their money, but then they turn on their secret plus ultra twin charge meth injected nitrous purging barf hurling gravity defying speed boost that just makes them catch all the way back up to you. Honestly, you'd probably be better off making a new save, and especially if you have a stock car, like again, back to the situation, if you had a 5-star rated car with performance parts 2 and you traded it for a stock car when you had no more races spawning, so you're forced to use these outruns as your only resort, you're not winning them. Like, I'm sorry, you're probably better off making a new save. And don't try to get smart with the game. You try to pull on ahead before the race, you can't challenge them. You must be behind them before challenging them in order for the game to register an outrun start, meaning by default you're giving them the lead. And speaking of leads, it doesn't even make sense. You can pass them and the game will tell you now have the lead, which usually means you make the decision for which directions you're going. You dictate the flow of the race. Except sometimes the game will just bug out and say, nah fam, you took a left? No, the AI went right, now they have the lead. I'm like, but I took the lead from them before I took the left. That's the new direction we're going. The game's like, nope. Like, bro, they can just go another way. And then the game just says they're in the lead. And now you're heading down the wrong street. Like, bro, just let me play myself out of the soft lock. I just want to try to have fun, man. I don't want to reset, bro. I don't want to start a new save. Except, hold up, rewind. No, not the rewind mechanic from modern arcade races. I mean literally rewind this video to the point where I mentioned that as long as you behind, you can challenge them to outrun them without being denied. This got me thinking, at what point does that hitbox still register their car while allowing the race to start? What if I say, oh, perhaps just maybe spun them out right before each start? It's as Video Game Donkey once said, when a video game's difficulty pushes a player to their limits, the player pushes the game to its limits, and even break it. Zero sympathy from me. Easy, medium, hard, it don't matter, you ain't going far, so as long as I just spin your car. Get 1 bar of nitrous, do laps on the highway, don't worry, it'll only spawn AI to outrun in roads near you, so eventually if you stay on the highway for just 30 seconds long enough, they only spawn on it. Now you got all your prey right in front of you. Once you get near one, spin them in a manner where their nose goes towards a wall, so it's even harder for them to successfully U-turn. Then boom, fire away, nitrous the F out of them. 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds, this is to go even further beyond. But wait, it gets even dumber than this. We can even get 7 seconds, because what if I told you, what if I can be even easier than this? Sometimes spinning them doesn't always trigger the race start, or they spin too quickly in the wrong direction where the outrun won't register. So to make sure I trigger the rear hitbox, I just decided to, well, literally hit them in the rear. Like, yeah, you can just rear end them. Mid rear end, you can challenge them, like even during the crash camera. The trick with this one is that you don't even need nitrous. Just go like 150 before hitting them in the back, and then just send them mudda truckers flying, bro, straight up, singing to the sky, man. Soaring through the air while I sorted my bank to cash their stupid checks. Zero chance they keep up. Easy wins all day. I managed to outrun them so hard in such a short period of time. I escaped the infamous 45% soft lock because adult me didn't even know about the whole star rating and money thing. I had to go read 2005 forums to see what I did wrong, only to realize that I either had one choice: reset the game or get them outruns. I had no money. Bone stock new car I just got. None of my cars were remotely close to 10 stars, much less 6, but woo, baby! West Cole Harbor, here we come. Just send your rivals into the stratosphere, and soon even Caleb gonna know who's named a fear, cause we coming for his booty. Winning these outrun races are a huge game changer. They give you insanely good performance mods long before you're even supposed to have access to them, and they also give you great cosmetic mods that increase your rating, and some of these don't even look that half bad, surprisingly. You could even unlock body kits for certain cars via winning outrun stars. This absolutely is probably not how the devs intended you to beat outrun racers, but you know what, I don't even care. If you're gonna make this stupid, easy to softlock game, then this is my retribution, my restitution for childhood me, who ain't ever seen Cole Harbor West or the Mustang GT. I genuinely had so much fun doing this. It turned an otherwise frustrating and unfun part of the game where I felt like I was just slogging around, where skill didn't matter because of the excessive rubber banding, into one of the most hilarious, actual laugh out loud moments where I was shouting in the middle of the night, calling these MFs fools as I sent them airborne. I wasn't no bully as a kid, but this straight up, that's how they be feeling after they took your lunch money. This is how bullies feel. I now know how bullies feel. The more you win against these racers, the more and more irritated they get, and it's so good, so funny, absolutely satisfying to take their money. Oh, and now y'all can comment again, because this tangent about to end with my last great reveal. Yet another robbery, a crime, and absolute steal. Did you know that you don't actually have to rice out your car at all to progress? Or at least, not the car you'd like. Again, this definitely was not how the developers intended you to play the game, but my only rules at the start were play vanilla, don't use cheating software or cheat codes, but hey, if it's built into the game and it just so happens to be kind of a loophole, that ain't cheating, that's just playing it as be, you know? Like I said, we got pushed to our limits, it's time to push the game to its limits. So check this out. So rice the ever-living hell out of the second car you get. In my case, in the save I ended up making it to endgame, it was my RX-7, and oh dear sweet lord, I mean, I'm sorry, I'll still say it once again. I know you've seen this car enough times in this video, but like, I'm sorry Rotary fans, I'm sorry you're witnessing this, but this is what winning does, you know, this is just what you gotta do, alright? And the reason it's the most rice car I have is because it's also the car I was winning the outruns with, and when you win an outrun, you can only use those unique cosmetic parts, be it the decals, carbon hoods, or high-level wheels and spinners and whatnot, onto the car that you run the outrun with. So that car just gets a monopoly of rice, and that's good, because the more and more rice the RX-7 got, the more and more magazine shoots it could attend, the more tournaments it unlocked. Then at each stage start, you get a new cutscene showing the new area you unlocked. Then all the new races spawn. This doesn't mean I don't like the RX-7, by the way. It just became the unfortunate victim of it was the car that had the highest star rating as is, so I chose it to be the one that inherited all the star rating onwards. Because my Supra I think was only a 3 and my Celica was like a 1 something, and my Thanos Civic got Thanos snapped because that's the one I gave up for the 3K GT. This means that I actually just could leave my 3K GT from Mitsubishi, a bone stock car. I mean, look at this beauty, look at her, man. Not a single grain of rice on her, just some wheels and coilovers. I just clean house for the entire stage with this car. Once the map is wiped clean, I bust out the RX-7 again, do some outruns, get more unique parts for it, so it can then reach a higher star rating to unlock the next stage, and boom, once the next stage spawns all of its races, I go back to the 3K GT, every magazine shoot, every ULR race, every regular. That way I don't have to see rice monstrosity on my screen and can just play the game how I actually please. With that said and done, that's Need for Speed Underground 2, and what I do have to say about it is, well, if you've been following along the way, I slipped it mid-video, and this is still the undisputed best Need for Speed game, an absolute gem of its time. I genuinely wonder if modern Need for Speed developers are actually even going back and playing their own dang games, and what they, the developers, should actually be making. And if they ain't gonna make it, that's fine, because you can still play it. You can go back and revisit this game and just play it yourself, because even today, this still holds up perfect and well, completely vanilla even, unmodded, bone stock if you will. But because those gimmicks and tricks do require a bit more thinking and definitely were not something that most kids were able to figure out on their own, I can't give this game a perfect rating, which is why I consider it an SS tier game, which, just kidding, that is a perfect rating. Get baited, 10 out of 10, baby. Best Need for Speed game. Woo! SS ain't nothing to sneeze about. Literally still 10 out of 10. Don't you dare ever call me a hater of Need for Speed again. I just gave this NFS game a damn 10 out of 10. Midnight Club 3 still better though, 11 out of 10 SSSS tier. Yeah, go watch that video, and heck, I'll say it right now. And Midnight Club 3, that's underrated. Don't you lie to me. Half of y'all ain't even played of it. Some of y'all still haven't even heard of it. Play it. Play it before you comment, because as someone who's actually played both of these games and now has revisited both of these games as adults within a few months time of each other, so they're still fresh in my mind, I can confirm one does not hold up, just a little bit behind. You don't want to play it though? Fine by me. Go watch my video on Midnight Club 3 and hear what I have to say about it. I love both of these games equally, and honestly, I still love them just for different reasons, you know, especially when you consider that the following Need for Speed game has something MC3 couldn't even come close to ever hoping of touching, and that's competent police chases. Yeah, we going there. Oh, we definitely going there next. So subscribe if you want to see it. The OG Need for Speed Most Wanted. Thank you for watching, and see y'all next time. Blade Angel out.